Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy, Green Pastures Farm. Today I wanted to give a little talk about chainsaws. And I have a lot of people asking me, well, what's the best chainsaw out there, Greg? And, there's some good ones. I personally, we've always used steel chainsaws. That's what I started out as a young man. And, when you start out with a certain brand, you kind of get, used to that one. And I think steel chainsaws are fine. Husqvarna, a lot of people use Husqvarna, John Sared, Homelight, McCullough. I've never had very good luck with the last two there. You get them started and you run a tank of gas through them, and then you run out of gas, you never get them started again. So that's the one thing I do like about a steel. They start. Now this is a kind of a different little deal right here. And this is going to be the gist of my talk today. I had a guy telling me, "Oh, Greg, you need to check out one of those electric chainsaws." And I'm like, "Nah, yeah, I ain't getting electric chainsaws. I want a gas chainsaw and more power." And they definitely are more power. I've got one right here behind me, which is an excellent saw, by the way. This is a heck of a saw, but it weighs 13 pounds. Okay, it's heavy. It's got a 16-inch bar on it. This is the Stihl MS 261C. This is a Pro. This is the Pro model. So this is what the loggers use to limb with. And I tell you what, it is a cutting machine. I like it because it got the anti-vibration on it. It's real smooth. It doesn't jerk you around. I'm going to set that thing down. It's heavy compared to this electric saw. But if you're going to cut firewood, that's your saw right there. And you can also cut a pretty good tree down with it. I mean, you can get all the way out to a 20-inch bar for that, and it'll run a 20-inch bar. But for cutting firewood, most of our firewood is going to be from 4 inches up to maybe, 18 inches. You can get around an 18-inch tree with a 16-inch bar pretty easy just going around it. I like that saw over the bigger saws because it's very fuel efficient. I mean, you can cut a lot of wood on I think it holds a half a pint of mixed, you got to mix oil and gas together. And then, of course, it has bar oil on the side as well. You got to put bar oil in there. And I do use Stihl bar oil. Years ago, I was pretty tight, and I just dumped some 30 weight in there. Just got me a quart of 30 weight, and I can use that as my bar oil. Folks, it absolutely eats your sprocket and your bar up because it's not lubricating right. It's throwing that oil off there too quick. It's too thin, and it doesn't lubricate real good, and you'll wear out your chain, your sprocket, and your bar using cheap oil. So is it cheap if you got to replace that? No, it's not cheap. It's very expensive oil doing that. So buy the good bar oil. It's got a lot higher viscosity. It stays on the chain better, and it just cuts better. So let's graduate from we're cutting firewood with that. Why would a person want one of these? You notice I'm holding this up with one hand. I mean, this thing weighs probably 6 pounds. I don't know. It's not very heavy. It's the M5A 140C. That's the number on it. And I had a friend up north, Alan, and Alan told me, he said, "Greg, that electric chainsaw is the handiest thing." He said, "I keep that in my truck all the time." And I'm like, "Yeah, probably, I don't think so." Well, I bought one. Last year, right around Christmas time, I gave myself a Christmas gift. I bought one. And I tell you what, Alan was right. These little things, it's got that little pointed bar in there. I think this has got a 10-inch. That might be a 12-inch. I can tell you real quick. I got a tape measure right here. I think that might be a 12-inch. It is a 12-inch. This has got a 12-inch bar on it. Folks, it's so small and light, you can run this thing. I think you can get 200 cuts with it before it needs recharged. It does have an oil reservoir on it. You got to make sure you put bar oil in it. Of course, there's no place for gas because it's not a gas saw. It's got a thumb release right here. You push that in, the battery comes out, And I've got my charger there mounted to the back of my wall. It'll recharge in about, I think it's 35 minutes, okay? One thing I haven't got is a backup battery. I kind of like to have one. Sometimes I really get busy and you're out there and that darn thing, you run out of battery and you're like, man, I'm not done cutting yet. So it'd be nice to have a backup battery, but the batteries are pricey, okay? Anyway, it does have a lock on it, so there. If you hit the trigger, see, it won't turn. Now I'm going to take the lock off, and I mean, this thing gets with it. So anytime you're not using it, make sure you put that lock on, so you don't accidentally. I mean, just because it's electric, you know, it's a little play toy. No, it'll still cut your leg or your arm. It'll cut anything that's flesh. So make sure you have this lock on. You just push it forward when you're not using it. I like the saw because, you know, as you get older, you can work longer with a lighter weight tool. And there's certain jobs like cutting around fences, and, you know, you can throw that in the foiler if you got a little bit of thorn sprouts or something. If you just want to limb up the side of a tree, this little guy right here will do it. I mean, it's powerful. It'll cut through. I think the biggest tree I've cut with it is probably around 8-inch diameter. And that was a softwood, not an oak. But, you know, this is made for, you know, stuff in that 3 to probably 5-inch diameter. You can get it down. But for cutting trees off of fences, limbing, multiple rose bushes, honey locust trees, autumn olives, this is your tool, folks. This is your tool. And I don't know. Oh, here's another cool thing about it. Check this out. So if my chain gets loose, let's just say my chain gets loose. Never cut wood with a loose chain. So it's got a deal here on the side. See, that just opens up. This opens up, and you can undo that. So that loosens the sprocket, the bar. And right here on the side, that black knob, see, I can loosen or I can tighten my chain. I don't need to bring a tool with me. It's right there. And when you get it tight, just tighten this back up like that. Shut it down. Now see, I didn't get it very tight, did I? I actually loosened it up. So let's go ahead and tighten it up. I'll loosen. You gotta loosen that nut up. Then I just reach up here, like that. Got her tight. Tighten this up. I'm back in business. I don't have to carry a tool to keep my chain tight. It's all self-built into this machine. So, you know, those guys in Stihl is actually from Germany, and the Germans are excellent engineers. And I can remember when I bought my first Stihl, I think I was about 17 years old. I thought I died and went to heaven, because all I'd ever had was a Homelite or a Macalla, and they just, you know, they just shake you to death and they don't start. And I got hold of one of these, and I'm like, man, cutting wood is fun. You know, when you got a good saw that'll start, and it's got anti-vibration on it, doesn't kill you while you're trying to run it. It's actually quite fun to cut your firewood, or if you're even logging or whatever. So anyway, I just wanted to give a plug. I'm not big on tools, but if I use one and I like it, I will promote it. I'm not a Stihl dealer, okay? I'm just telling you what I use. And this little guy right here, there's the numbers on it. It is a tool that I think belongs on a farm if you're going to be clearing any brush or anything, or building fence or whatever. It's just handy to keep around. You don't have to worry about packing gas with you. You do have to make sure you keep that oil reservoir full for the bar. Otherwise, it's not going to cut very well without any bar oil in there. Anyway, everyone have a good one, and we'll see y'all down the road.